Okay, hello guys, here I am again. Unfortunately, I did a mistake. I already recorded this video. This is why you already see something written here. But I'll just do it over again. Maybe I should do it this way in general. Then you don't have to wait for me typing all the time. This is a pretty nice idea, I think. Pretty obvious idea also, but okay, shame on me. Previously, we talked about why Java. We talked about the reason why Java isn't that popular. If you ask people, they will cite boilerplate code. Maybe they don't like object-oriented programming to that extent that Java forces you. Yeah, but some of these criticisms are just very, I think, heterodox also. When you the whole programming scene online in social media, it's not like the real world. The real world is different, and Java is a real world programming language. Okay, of course, C is also a real world programming language. Every language is a real world programming language. Of course, what I mean by that is that simply Java is so well balanced that it's actually a decent language. And if you're interested in getting a job with a programming language, you should probably study Java and that Golang or something like that, or Rust, because it's just not that. The demand is not that high, but I talked about it in the previous video, so I don't want to repeat myself here. Today we'll talk about the course, my free YouTube course in Java, and we'll talk about the concept. Of course, I won't talk about all the topics we will cover. We will cover functions, how do you declare variables, control flow, if then, if else, else if, switch statement, object-oriented programming in detail. Just listing all these topics don't make any sense. Therefore, yeah, I'll just talk about the course in general. The structure. I will talk about my learning level concepts later. But first, I'll talk about learning in general. I think it's very important, and I think most people, they think they know how to learn. Maybe they even know how to learn, but they're too lazy. I don't know. But the most important thing is practice makes perfect. Okay. And relating to this, I just want to show you this little snippet of George Hotz. It's a really genius in my eyes.
Do you have advice for people that want to, get into programming, want to learn programming? You have a video.
I think I should skip it a little bit. I think
what
it
is
starts here.
Get into programming?
You are never going to learn programming by watching a video called Learn Programming. The only way to learn programming, I think, and the only way everyone I've ever met who can program well learned it all in the same way. They had something they wanted to do, and then they tried to do it. And then they were like, oh, well, okay, this is kind of, it'd be nice if the computer could kind of do this thing. And then, that's how you learn. You just keep pushing on a project.
And that's the perfect answer. I couldn't have worded it any better. Practice makes perfect, and especially in programming, you should learn by doing projects. And this is also the reason why I will recommend you doing some projects. Of course, they will be very easy projects in the beginning. And yeah, and I'll maybe make some projects myself, and maybe I'll show you a tic-tac-toe project, for example, and we can do it together, and then I'll give you a few project ideas, and you can try to figure it out on your own, because this active way of learning is the best way of learning. Psychology shows this. It's obvious in the end, but I know people get stuck in tutorial hell, and in some sense it's a little bit ironic, right? Because I just showed you a video, a guy who told you that this is not how you should learn programming. You should learn it on your own. But my course is maybe like a little bit of a lexicon, okay? So if you, first I have to get you off the ground so you can actually code, and this is where YouTube videos are very, very nice, and I hopefully can help you. Be very nice if I could help you in that, getting you off the ground, and I can show you even some advanced topics, but in the end, you have to do it yourself, right? And second, we live in the age of AI, so we should probably use it, right? We can use ChatGPT, and if, for example, we don't know what is the difference between Java and Python, for example, Java is a compiled language, Python is an interpreted language, what do these words mean? We can just ask ChatGPT. Okay, I don't know why this doesn't work, but we can just ask, right? What is the difference between a compiled and an interpreted programming language? And then you have a nice answer right here. I would just recommend you doing this, because this will increase your learning speed like tenfold. Of course, you can also ask ChatGPT more specific questions to your programming language. This is the prompt I have right here, just as an example. If you want to know how to declare 2D arrays, if you're already familiar with the concept of a 2D array, for example, from Python or C, and you just want to know how is it implemented in Java, you can just ask Java this and ChatGPT this, and then you get a pretty nice answer. And this is really helpful. Okay, so I just wanted to recommend this. Third thing is a little more on the psychologically. Don't become too annoyed with yourself if you don't get it. I become very frustrated when I don't understand things, and this is not very helpful at all. It was very important for me that I accept it when I don't understand stuff, and actually appreciate it now. Because if you're annoyed, you're learning. Okay, then it's right the sweet spot. You're a little bit outside your comfort zone, then it means you're learning. So learning, and this ties in with the last one. Learning should be fun. Okay, if you do this course just because you want to make money and stuff like that, that's not a good motivation. That's an extrinsic motivation. It should be intrinsically interesting to you. And if it's not, maybe this course is not for you. Maybe programming is not for you. Okay, I really think intrinsic motivation is what keeps people programming, okay? Because most people just try to do it and they fail and they never come back to it because it's not fun to them, and this is fine, obviously. It's not like everybody has to program. But these are the general remarks about learning, which are very important to me. Now let's talk about the concept of the course. The problem when you try to teach people how to program is you don't know where to start, right? For example, let's look at the Java Hello World program again. Okay, I don't know where to start, because if you don't know anything about programming, which I suppose you don't, because this is the target audience of this course. You don't know what a class is. You don't know what is with these curly brackets. What is the scope? What is an access modifier like public? What is a static method? What is a return type? What is a data type even? What is a function? What are we doing with here? It's so much at the beginning, especially when you start to learn Java, that you might feel overwhelmed, right? And if I would have to explain every little keyword like class or public or static or void in detail, then we'll talk about like 5 hours about the hello world program, and this is obviously didactically not very good. So yeah, so I decided to introduce what I call the learning level concept. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, let's say our third chapter is about OOP. Okay, object-oriented program. Let's just suppose this to be the case. So there will be in this chapter there will be 10 videos per chapter, right? Where n is at least 1, and they will be structured like 3.1 introduction, 3.2 classes and objects, for example, 3.3 inheritance, and so on. Okay, and you can realize that n videos belong to one chapter just by this little number right there. Okay, it's chapter 3, and this is a part of this chapter, these videos. And for every chapter, so the important concept right here is the concept of chapter. Should be pretty obvious, but I just highlight it right here, or maybe not like that. Sorry. Every chapter. If I only could type, be very nice, right? N videos per chapter. Just like an example of chapter 3. Example chapter 3. Chapter 3 will look different, obviously, but just to make it more clean. And for every chapter, there are learning. What I call there are at least 2 learning levels: beginner and intermediate, maybe even advanced. Okay. So for every chapter, there are at least 2 learning levels, and these are beginner and intermediate. There may be 3 if it's also advanced. Okay, let me give you another example of these learning levels. Let's say we are talking about function. Let's say this is chapter 2, and inside chapter 2, the structure is a beginner learning level. This is for the people who are not familiar with functions or OOP or whatever we are talking about. They are just not familiar with it at all, and this is for the noobs, so to say, right? Where we, in the case of functions, where I will explain what even is a function in programming. It's a subroutine, how to declare a function, just basic stuff like that. I will also talk about the use case. Why do we use function? What's the use case? Why are they so useful? How do they tie into abstraction? I will just clarify the basic stuff. In the same chapter, there will also be videos, 1 or more videos on the intermediate learning level, where we, for example, talk about anonymous functions in Java, lambdas, functional program in Java via the Streams API, for example. You can see just by these labels that this is also pretty intermediate. Maybe you could even say they're pretty advanced. And on the advanced learning level, I'll go into really like niche topics which are only of interest for you if you're already advanced. Okay, and because every chapter is structured in this way, so n videos per chapter, and every chapter and every video and every chapter is on exactly one of those learning levels, right? And for every chapter, there are at least the 2 learning levels: beginner and intermediate, maybe even advanced. And by structuring the course in this way, I think I'll make it easier for you to gain the most of it in the least amount of time possible, right? So if you, for example, already know what a function is and you're only interested in like the basic syntax, there may be 1 video in the beginner learning level where I just talk about the syntax, and this is also important for you, but the rest you can skip and you can focus on the intermediate learning level. And if you are an absolute beginner, you can just watch the beginner learning level videos, the intermediate learning level videos, and you can come back to these chapters in any way you please. I think structuring it this way is very nice because it's the most, I think it's a good way of structuring the course. That's all I'm going to say about this topic. Yeah, hopefully this was clear. If it wasn't, I will demonstrate how the course is structured by just doing these videos, right? And I'll remember you at the beginning of every video on which learning level we are right now. And before I close, I will just have to add that there will be 1 more video in the like introductory series of this course, where I will talk about how to set up Java so everything is running, and then we'll actually start coding. So if you bear with me until this point, I know you're probably excited and you want to start programming. I can understand, and I promise you we will get there very soon. Yeah. Okay. Maybe 1 little addition to this, and then I promise you I'll end the video. In the last video where I talked about why Java, where I motivated the choice of choosing the choice of Java, I said that I demonstrated the boilerplateness, so to say, of Java by demonstrating this hello world program. What's interesting in Java 29, okay, this is like the newest version of Java. Every I think 1 or 2 years, the Java language introduces some new aspects which are usable from that point in time onwards, right? And in Java 21, since Java 21, it is actually possible to write the following: void main system out print hello world. Okay, it's possible, no problem. So they actually, and you have to end each of these statements with the semicolon right here, with this little symbol right here. It's very important. I forgot it in the last video. And this, so you don't have to have all this boilerplate code as I told you in the last video, but this is only since Java 21, right? So it's very recent development. And since most of the people are working with, I think, at least Java 16 or even older versions, I didn't talk about that because you have to think about compatibility. So let's imagine you have a job and you start working in the IT section of an insurance, for example, and they work with Java 8, okay? And you try to write this, for example. Yeah, it just doesn't run. So I'll stick to the general and parts of Java which also already have traditions. But I also teach you some new features of Java, like Java 16 of local type inference or stuff like that. Yeah, this is just the last remark I had to do, and I'll see you in the next video where we will actually start to set up things so you can actually start programming. See you then, bye-bye.